You know what? I had dropped things down that I said I wasn't gonna do no lives except for like once a week, right? Why should I? And then something came to my fruition a few minutes ago and they said, Dad, you need to go live, you need to talk about this. And that's what Tina Turner passing at 83 years old. Tina Turner. Who's gonna replace her, huh? Who's gonna replace Tina Turner? I know some of y'all see this on a late broadcast. Some of y'all might not even care. You know, that's the way of the wind nowadays. They only care about rappers and trending stories of who's getting out of jail. But this story matters. You know why this story matters to me? Because this is an icon right here. And let me tell you, boys and girls, something, and even some of you older ones that are way older than me, let me tell you something. You're making a very big mistake. See, if you're going to be a star, let me explain to you first because I'm real emotional about this. I really, really am. Because my aunts, all of them, they all used to listen to Tina Turner. My one aunt, she had like a little dance routine where she would dance like Tina Turner. You understand? So this is phenomenal. She was 83 years old. And unbeknownst to a lot of us, Tina Turner had been suffering from intestinal cancer since 2016. She had I'm not gonna put it out there, but she had a part of her body removed as a result of this, um, which I can imagine would be this tremendous to any woman at any point of age. You know what I'm saying, or any human at that point, regardless of gender. She grew up in a place called Nutbush, Tennessee. So I hope that Zoe Williams, I hope that Uncle Bobby sees this respectively from Chattanooga. And I forgot where you from, Bobby. Memphisboro. Memphisboro. Shout out to Uncle Bobby. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And she says she remembers picking cotton with her parents when she was a child. This is one of the last people. You got to understand this. A lot of y'all spend time celebrating. And just let me finish up the synopsis. She died as a result of suffering. And they say in the announcement that she died peacefully, but I have a hard time believing that. I don't think anything was peaceful about it at all. She died from illness. They said she was a lot of weight loss tour, everything like that. And I know a lot of people say, well, she was 83, she lived a fruitful life. Yeah, that's true. But a lot of people don't know that Tina Turner, in the sense of the industry, didn't get a career start until later on after she left Ike Turner. She was with Ike Turner for almost 20 years, and he beat, belligerent her. Some people say sexually assaulted her. Y'all all seen the movie What's Love Got to Do With? If you haven't, go check it out. I want to touch on something that's a little bit in the same nudge as this, because that's just a simple announcement to make. But I want to say something to you a little bit more than that. See, and I always get up here and I say this. I come from the music industry. I was around the music industry. I was around multimillionaires all my life, but I also met some icons. I got a chance, and I told you guys before, to meet Prince, you know. And I never saw Prince again after that moment I met him, but I met him in the old BMG building of ours. And it wasn't until later on I was like, you know what? After he was gone, I was like, you know what? I'm one of the few people I think that met Prince and was able to shake his hand. And I didn't groupie out and take a picture like I did with so many other artists because this was Prince. But like Prince, like Lil Richard, and like many other black artists and Latin artists that pass away, yeah, they get a street named after them, such and such way, such and such boulevard. They'll do the same for Tina Turner. They'll acknowledge her in the play that she has still running on Broadway right now. It's about to do in its second turn since the COVID had hit. They shut down production, but they kept the monarchy up there because they knew as soon as things resumed, they could count on Tina Turner's name to sell. Now, the problem with a lot of you guys is you're not acknowledging these people that paved the way for many of y'all. See, including myself, who they paved the way for as well. This is why Puff was able to get a deal through BMG. This is why other people were able to exceed, like Baby and Master P and all these people, because these people have made their sacrifices. And these people were performing in some of these venues for $15, $20, sometimes $100. You understand what I'm saying? Quite opposite of the hundreds of thousands that y'all command, or tens of thousands that y'all command for a performance right now. These people were making crumbs, and they wouldn't even let them eat in some cities. If you've seen the movie The Green Book, they wouldn't even let them eat at the restaurants of some of the cities they were performing in. In some instances, they had to go in the back door of places they were performing in. Tina Turner led that. She lived that. This woman remembers picking cotton with her parents as a child. And she was still here and alive to talk about it. And now that chance and that opportunity is done. Where's the historians? Where are all these people that say they're so proud of the culture? How come you're not going to talk to the elders and get their testimony before they pass on? The last person I saw them do this with was Dick Gregory. Last person I saw them do this with. They got their testimony. They asked them questions. No, instead, it's white publications that go and they know what's eventually going to happen. So the white publications, they go along and they get these people's story. You understand? They get their testament, but you're not getting the real brains and butter of the situation, which is this. What if somebody would have been able to ask Tina Turner face to face on one of these podcasts and YouTube channels? What was it like picking cotton? What was it like picking cotton? Because you pick cotton, and she says this in her memoir. You pick cotton with your parents and your grandparents in a field in the United States in Tennessee in the 1900s. Not the 1800s, not before the Emancipation Proclamation, and nobody's there to document this. You will now have to leave it up to white publications and their language quotes and and whatever their testament was of the situation to now have a reference about who Tina Turner actually was. Why? Because y'all slacking. I saw the same thing happen when Little Richard died. I've seen the same trend happen when a lot of these stars die, or a lot of these people that have put more of the sacrifice than you ever could imagine, besides your upload of your newest viral video or your upload of the song you made on Bandcamp or whatever the case may be. These people put boots to the ground and busted their ass to get to where they get. And now that it's easier for you to do it and just upload away, you tell the world or act towards the world as you forget these people. They will forget Tina Turner. I told y'all this when DMX passed away. How many of y'all listening to DMX right now? How many people you hear talk about DMX? Few and far between. There should be all these hip hop channels that do all this gossiping or whatever, whatever. My main thing on my channel is not hip hop. But for all these hip hop channels that are out here, none of them keep a constant remembrance of Fred the Godson. None of them. Just go for U2 Hot 97. Just go for U2 Power 105. Just go for U2 Hot 97. Just go for U2 Power 105. I know you niggas listen. R.I.P. a legendary icon, Tina Turner. Salute to you, OG Patrice. I'm trying to learn them. You gotta start you've got to start paying homage to these people. And you got to have a consistent homage of them. Ain't a day in this country that a motherfucker won't scream Elvis Presley's name. Ain't a day in this country, even Jerry Lee Lewis, who married a 14-year-old cousin of his, they won't scream his name. He's the best man in rock and roll ever. You have to rely on whites to talk about black artists like Bobby Blue Bland, like B.B. King. You have to depend on whites to indoctrinate them into their rock and roll Hall of Fame because you have not set any up. So what do you think they're going to come on? What do you think they're going to pay the most honor? And what sector do you think they're going to pay the most honor to Tina Turner? The white sector. And you remember I said that. A week from now, I'm going to clip this section. I'm going to put it up to prove the point. I said it right then and there because I see this whole thing. And a lot of it has to do with some of them just being rich. You're right, Davin. I just paid tribute to Malcolm X, Jim Brown, and Harry Belafonte. That's right. Malcolm X's birthday was last week. Malcolm X's birthday was last week. Nobody said nothing. Jim Brown passed away. You barely see a post. You know how much fucking work Jim Brown put in? Nobody said nothing. Harry Belafonte has a career that stretched just as much as this woman, if not further. Not a word. These are the people that have made it responsible and possible and took the responsibility of being called all kinds of names and everything else and getting the door. And this generation in totality, I'm talking about X, Zennials, and Millennials, y'all forgetting the people that paved the way for y'all. The Tina Turners, the Harry Belafontes and Jim Browns, Malcolms, and everybody else. And everybody will come into this podcast and be, oh man, I don't want to hear that. I'm watching as three generations collectively in the opposite, in the infatuation of maybe possibly getting some money, are willing to throw away everything as a keepsake in their culture. Not only is it up for sale, they'll damn near hand it to you. They'll damn near hand it to you. And then you sit back later and you be like, I don't like how the white folks said that about Tina Turner. Watch, you'll say that later. What's up, 305 Capricorn? They'll say that later. I don't like how the white folks did Tina. I don't like it. Then why didn't you do something? Now, I'll reiterate what I said before. She passed away from intestinal cancer. She had been diagnosed with it, I believe, back in 2016. It fell under the radar, and I knew it was a reason I hadn't seen her in the press that much. Because most of the time, we'll see a picture of Tina pop up somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there she go. All right. Hey, auntie. You know, you keep it moving. You know, she's an icon. This is why I'm saying this woman was as big, if not bigger than Elvis at one point. You understand? She's international. She died in Sweden. She died in Sweden. This is an international star. We're not talking about somebody that's such and such artist. This is Tina fucking Turner. And the sad thing about it is the so-called culture. That's why I said, watch these people that be, y'all gonna learn and y'all gonna understand. Y'all gonna come back one day. Y'all gonna be like, yo, you know what? I see what he was talking about now. Watch people that say shit like, oh, for the culture, or people that use these little language points, these little talking points, or whatever. Oh, you know, us, we, they. Watch that shit and then compare it to their movements. And if they ain't adding up, you got a sham on your hands. You got a con on your hands. You got a, whatever you want to call them. YouTube should be lit right now talking about Tina Turner. And nobody paid all this gossiping and sleuthing they all do. And nobody knew that Tina Turner was dying of intestinal cancer. More or less, most of them won't even care. Give this a like. If you don't like any of my other posts, like this post. Show some support of Tina Turner. Fuck me. I want other people to see this. Maybe people that may not, they're more infatually on the bag than they are on their own culture. And that's where it's going to collide. And I'm telling you, 3 to 4 years from now, when the cycle of technology, the cycle of the economy and everything catches up with y'all going to realize in these past little 5, 6 years, whatever, I knock at 2025, 2026, y'all going to come back and y'all going to realize, you're going to be like, yo, what the fuck were we doing? Now they really own us. This was a trick, including you ladies, including you men. Ladies, especially y'all, I need every black woman that is. Instead of gossiping about women tonight or gossiping about Jaguar Wright or whoever you're gossiping about, talk about Tina Turner tonight. I guarantee you they won't. And the reason I say this, y'all, because I've seen this with numerous different stars that pass away. I'm from that industry, so I always pay attention when they pass away. And I notice it'll be about, if they're a really big star, it'll be a couple days of mourning. If they're a halfway star, they might get 2 or 3 days. Then they move on. They don't talk about it no more. They don't remember this person. They don't care about this person really anymore. They don't hold them at an elk where they should. And it's almost like they forget them. Everybody's forgotten about DMX. Shout out to X, man. Everybody's forgot about DMX. Everybody's forgot about Fred the Godson. Everybody's forgot about a lot of these iconic people. And I'm not trying to give them in the measurement of Tina Turner. I was leave that for the Halle Belafontes, the Jim Browns. But these are your elders that paved the way that y'all always try to reference all the time in your little diatribes, and they're dying. They're literally getting old and dying. So my question is, who's going to replace them? Who's going to be the next mantra for whatever they represented? And you will find very few. You'll find very few, if any. You'll find very few. Most of these guys are not capable. Most of these guys are not articulate enough, even though they try to pretend they're articulate enough. They almost sound like Oswald Bates on In Living Color. A couple of y'all ain't going to know what I'm talking about. Because specifically, what I want to do in the fallopian tube is I feel that I should insert. You know what I mean? That's how he talked. You get a lot of those type of people here on YouTube that try to pretend like they're intelligent, try to pretend like they're leaders of the culture, but these people are far from leaders of the culture, nor are you experienced enough, nor have you had enough fucking risk pointed at you that you would be experienced enough. You basically giving children the initiative to run the culture. And what are children going to do? In Egypt, there was a king. His name was Sibu. I think his name was Sibu, and he was like something like 10 years old when he came to the kingdom. There's a lot of stories of this, but I point out on this one because he was part of the Nubian lineage. And as for some reason or another, everybody thinks that this Africans ruled over Egypt. This is far from the truth. Cleopatra was the last fucking ruler. Yes, a woman. Isn't that ironic? She was the last ruler of Egypt, and she had fucking, she had a man killed, had her brother killed, and we paint this picture like she's some, walk of art. But this little boy Sibu, I believe that's how you say his name. I might be pronouncing it wrong, but it's Sibu. He came to term and came to king, and he did all kinds of atrocious things you could think of, from cutting people's hands off for laughter and all kinds of stuff at a very young age. At a very young age. The point I'm getting at is most of Egyptian societies or Egyptian antiquities, they don't even mention this little boy. Look him up. It's Subu, Sibu. He was a 10-year-old king, I think. The reason I brought that up is the point of this. You're not honoring the kings and queens that came before y'all. Y'all not taking testament of these older actors, these older performers. Do you know how much motherfucking information you could have got from Jim Brown if you just would have went over there to Jim Brown's house like he was very inviting to do? Jim Brown used to have gang members coming over to his house to sleep so he keep them out the street. Do you know how much fucking wealth of information you could hit fast forward on by just talking to a man that's 80 something years old, a woman that's 83 years old, a man that's 70 something years old? Do you know the wealth of information that those people have? And now it's gone. So, what service are you actually doing for the culture if you can't document the elders and have their words of wisdom to pass on? You motherfuckers are worthless. And like I'm gonna start keep on doing, regardless of I deduct and lose or whatever, I'm always gonna be honest, regardless if I take in cash apps, because I did a hour and a half live the other night. I went to Dave Dash's old office building. I had been in that building before, and I forgot what the artist's name was. I think one of them was Spraga Benz, and then the other kid is real big right now, whatever. And his name starts with a C, and I just can't think of his name. But he's from New Orleans or something like that. This kid is out of the wind. These are Dame Dash's artists. And I go to these places or whatever, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I see the reaction. You'll have people who sit there and watch you, but they won't support you. But if you talking about somebody in a downward fashion, they support that monetarily. Night after night after night after night, there has been a shift in the culture in which y'all pay attention to. And the only culprit that y'all not paying attention to is this motherfucker I'm talking to right now. YouTube. This shit has made y'all mad because all y'all think y'all can be a star. Look at me in my face. I worked with stars for 17 years. Ain't every last one of y'all motherfuckers a star. I don't care how much they've removed. If they have to start removing rules of what ordinary goes on for you to fit in, you're not a star. You're a pawn and you're being used for something. You need to start looking at it like that. I don't care how many followers you got on YouTube or all that shit. How come you're not talking to the elders? We got Tina Turner dead here, and she remembers picking cotton with her mother and her grandfather, and what is it called? Nut butter or something like that. Nut something, Tennessee. And I'm just like, yo, do you know the wealth of information that just passed with this woman? And there was nobody that was there to do any type of, you know, what I'm talking about is, and this might be different for our kids or a family or whatever, because they're already in the know. They're familiar with Tina and they know her stories. They know how she grew up in Nutbush, Tennessee. That's the name of it, Nutbush, Tennessee. And, they know these stories because they grew up with them, but the rest of the world don't know them unless you read her memoir. The rest of the world should have been there talking to Tina and talking to the rest of a lot of these other bloggers. That's why I'm saying, y'all as people, y'all donating y'all money to these fucking vloggers, demand more out of them. But for me, when I do more, it almost feels like it ain't enough for y'all. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I fell back. That's why you see me lackadaisical or whatever. Ain't because I got a whole bunch of donations and nothing. Nah. I'm just like, why should I put my effort into speaking to people that don't care to hear the truth? They want to hear lies. And most of the urban demographic, and I heard another man say this last night. Shout out to Troy Terrain for backing my words up that I had already said. Most of the urban demographic, they prefer drama. They like to hear lies, and they like repetitive fucking stories. And they like you to continue with the same story over and over and over and over and over. This is why Jaguar Wright's story has been able to last for almost 3 years now. We're talking about Jaguar during the pandemic. I'm not using her as an example, but I'm using her as a musician to prove a point. The black demographic and the Latin demographic, there is something wrong with y'all motherfuckers. And it's called the race to try to be popular. But what are you becoming popular off of? Let's see, talking down about your own, not recognizing and really representing your own. We got motherfuckers that live right in New York City and won't take you to any of these fucking locations that they mention in their language points during their live broadcast, but I do. You understand what I'm saying? I had to stop doing that too, because, you know, this is the funny thing about today's culture. The way the culture is now, it's like you almost have to bend over backwards for these folks. And the same thing that they claim that they're fighting against, which is oppression, they almost want to be the new oppressors. You understand what I'm saying? And so for me personally, I'm just throwing my own personal glitch in here, and I don't care if somebody logged off or whatever. They hate when you talk about you because they don't have the ability to talk about themselves, or there's nothing interesting for them to talk about for themselves. That's the only time somebody gets irritated when you're talking about yourself. I have experiences. So of course I'm going to talk about myself, experiences that you haven't had as an individual. And how do I know? Because you wasn't around us when we was state to state. You wasn't around us when we was in any of these fucking events. I ain't never see you. So how the fuck do you know? But still, matter of factly, because of the hue that has been putting on black and Latin people via this shit right here and the rest of social media, you motherfuckers have started to believe an alternate delusion collectively. It's like y'all all on the same synergy, all on the same waypoints. You got to look for the people that ain't on the same waypoints and vibes as the rest of them. They're a bunch of followers. You see, they're followers. So the followers reward other people that do in suit what they claim the white masters have been doing to them for years, which is talk about their own. You're doing the job of the Klan, you're doing the job of far right wingers and don't even realize it. And you're getting a nice reward for it and don't even realize how it accommodates. I remember when Dave Chappelle, he had the nigger family. And he said, "Oh, honey, we're rich, but they're nigger rich." And you get rags and tatters. Most of you ain't never been around no real money. You think $100,000 is the fucking world. You understand what I'm saying? You can spend that shit within 4 hours. You know. So I don't get on here today to collect any donations. If anything, just hit the like button. If you on here and you click out or whatever, that's on you. Goes to show your temperament and what you're into. And pay attention to people like that. If you start talking, if you have a podcast or a broadcast that you do, pay attention to the people that log off when you're talking about some real shit, but all henceforth in when you talk about some negative shit. And if you see them and you're able to recognize them or they leave a negative comment, do like I do. I block them motherfuckers. Because it's the energy that they have. You need to let all the motherfuckers get collectively together on YouTube. But please remind you of this. Nobody after 2 or 3 days is going to talk about Tina Turner until it's day for the funeral. And when it's a day for the funeral, they will briefly talk about her then. And one of the most iconic, most talented, most memorable women in U.S. history will be forgotten. But they, just like they've forgotten Eartha Kitt, just like they've forgotten many of others. And it's a goddamn shame that these people use as a crutch on their back how much they care about the culture here on YouTube. How much thousands of dollars that y'all donate to these frauds when they talk about how much they care about the culture. But none of you YouTube motherfuckers can go over there and find out what was going on with Tina Turner for the past 4 years. None of y'all can keep the memory alive of DMX. None of y'all can keep the memory alive or even say something or mention something about Jim Brown or Harry Belafonte or Malcolm X. And I'm talking about in mass. I'm not talking about a couple people that are 35 and over that it's your sole duty to do that. No, I'm talking about people that's 35 and under. Because those same motherfuckers 35 and older, somebody had to teach them. And the problem was they didn't teach somebody after that. So, yes, I'm going to say R.I.P. to Tina Turner, but I'm also going to say this. There are very few left of the time period that Tina Turner comes from. So listen to me very well. In most cultures, especially I'll use Greek culture, for example, and Cleopatra, they kept a library. a library of all their knowledge. And during the invasion of the Romans into Egypt and the final dynasty, which concluded with Cleopatra, you can look this up, they burnt the libraries. They burnt the libraries. And some things were, saved and, collected or whatever, whether, we're not talking about necessarily parchment paper with everything. Some things were written on stone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so they wouldn't subside to those damages. And good enough that they have, but a lot of the world's knowledge is lost. And I'm telling you guys, for the sense of a couple of dollars in your pocket, which I know many of y'all ain't never seen before, you're about to sell out not only yourself, but your kids and the future by forgetting your past. This is the biggest trick that the devil ever pulled on anybody in his whole entire life. If you as black people and Latin people are the closest to God, this is the point in life where you move the furthest away from God. R.I.P. Tina Turner.